So I got to go to the Peru MTC, which is the third largest MTC after Mexico and Provo. So it was actually really nice. I was really excited. I actually really did not want to go to the Provo MTC because I just wanted to get over there. I just didn't. I don't know. I just did not want to go to the Provo MTC because I felt like it was really overrated. And it's great. I'm sure it's great, but I just didn't want to have to go from one to the other. I just wanted to get over there. And it was actually really funny getting over there because I actually missed my flight on my way to my mission. So the week before my mission or whatever, when I got my airplane tickets, I was like, "Hey mom, we have to be there early," because my mom is notoriously late. You know, the normal Mormon mom, she's just late to everything. And so I was like, "Mom, we have to be there early or else, so I can get my baggage in, so I can get everything taken care of, so I don't have to worry about it." She's like, "Yeah, an hour early would be fine." And so I was living in St. George and I flew out from Vegas. And so we got there and, we were saying goodbyes and everything. We went to go check in my baggage and they were like, "No, we can't accept your baggage. The plane's about to leave." And we're like, "No, just hurry and accept it. And she'll run up there. It'll be fine." And so they decided they would take my baggage and I ran up there and I missed the flight. I got there and I was like, "No, the plane is gone." And at this point, I'm panic mode. I have no cell phone, I have nothing at this point. And so I use a payphone and I call my mom. I'm like, "Mom, I missed my flight." And I call the missionary office or whatever, the number they gave me. And so they got me a different flight. And they're like, "Yeah, just go pick up your bags. They shouldn't have sent your bags out if you weren't on the plane. Just go pick up your bags and head over, to this other gate and we'll get you another flight through Dallas or whatever." And it's like, okay. And so I head down to the luggage office and the lady's like, "No, your luggage went on that plane without you." And I'm like, "Ah." So that my luggage went to Atlanta where all the other missionaries were going to meet together and just got stuck there because I wasn't there to transfer it to Lima. And I went through Dallas a couple hours later. And so it was actually really funny because I was supposed to fly with all these other missionaries that were going to Lima, this big group of missionaries coming from everywhere. And I ended up going all by myself. So I'm on this, from Dallas to Lima is 7 hours or whatever. I'm on this 7-hour flight. It's all Spanish and I don't know anybody. There's nobody there. And so then I get to the airport, I don't have any baggage. I just have my carry-on, just a little suitcase, and I get picked up by these members and I'm the only one there and they drive me over to the MTC and I'm just so frazzled, longest day ever. And so I get to the MTC at 1 in the morning and we're driving through Lima midnight and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, where am I?" What am I doing? And so I get to the MTC and they show me to my room and I get into my room and I just drop all my stuff and my companion was actually praying. They had just barely gotten there midnight or something, so I actually didn't get there very much later than them. But I dropped all my stuff and I looked at my companion. I'm like, "I'm so glad you speak English." She just hugged me. She's like, "I was just praying that you would get here safe and you walked in the door." And she was adorable. And so I got to the Peru MTC all in one piece. And then I got there on Wednesday and Saturday I got all my luggage finally. They finally got it through. And so I didn't have to wear flats for exercise. So that was nice. But yeah, so it was interesting. But the Peru MTC is really nice. It's pretty spacious. Let's see, it probably holds, I think the max is 150 missionaries. And while I was there, it was pretty full. We had quite a few big groups. And I think when I came, our group had 2 districts of North American missionaries. And then later on, we got some Hispanic groups because they come in for only 2 weeks because they already speak the language. So we had 2 districts and most of our district was going to our mission. And then we had 2 missionaries in our district that were going to Arequipa, which was my companion and one of the others. So I was the only sister missionary from North America going to the Lima North Mission in that group. So that was kind of fun. And then we had a district that was going to the East and the Central Mission. So but we saw them a lot. It was actually really nice experience, really fun. Everybody was really fun there. And we got to socialize and meet a lot of new people. And we would always socialize, well, try to socialize with the Hispanic missionaries because we're like, oh, we need to learn. And they would just laugh at us because we couldn't speak any Spanish. And it was actually really funny because I remember thinking after I got into the field, like, I wish I would have just eaten everything in the MTC. Because, like, there was a few things I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to try that. Like, that sounds weird. And then I would get into the mission field. Because when I got in the mission field, I, like, had a goal. I was going to eat everything. Like, I was just going to finish everything they gave me. I was going to eat everything. And I did it for, like, 3 months. And then I was like, this is insane. I can't do this anymore. But, like, I tried everything. And so there was a lot of things I tried. And I was like, man, why didn't I eat this in the MTC? Like, this is so good. This is amazing. But yeah, and so we would just have language classes and just gospel classes. And our teachers would just make fun of us. Just kidding. They didn't make fun of us that bad. But they would tell us lots of jokes, and like we would just have fun. But it was a good experience. We had fun. I got to meet a lot of people going to other missions, and I actually had a friend from high school who was going to a different mission in Peru, and so she was still there for 2 weeks after I got there. So we got to see each other for 2 weeks, and it was cool because we were like, oh, hey, I know you. But that was probably the only time in my mission I actually saw somebody that I knew from before my mission. But that was fun, and yeah, we just got to socialize and meet a lot of people. We got to meet people that were going to be on our mission. And you, like, get really tight with the people that serve in the MTC with you. So it's kind of like your group and your little family. So it was fun. It's a good experience. The Lima North Mission is actually really interesting because it used to be the biggest mission in Peru. It used to have a bunch of the jungle. It used to have all of the Iquitos mission. So it had just, like, most of North Peru, and so it's actually a really old mission. So it used to just be like a bunch of land, and then they actually split the mission just recently, like right before. So before I served my mission, I left in October of 2013, and June of 2013 they actually had just called a bunch of new mission presidents. So my mission president had just barely gotten there in June, and that was when they split the missions. So actually a lot of the missionaries that were there before me had actually been in the Iquitos, well, in the Lima North Mission that had all the jungle in it, and then they got kind of split up. So someone went to the Iquitos mission and someone went to the Lima North Mission. And so Lima North went from being the biggest mission in Peru to being one of the smallest missions in Peru. And so now it's just Lima, it's just the city, and Iquitos is like all the jungle that was there. So it's actually kind of depressing because there's like no green in the Lima North Mission. There's like one park that has grass. But so Lima is a really, really big city. It's actually like one of the most populated cities in the world. And fun fact, Lima actually has more taxis in it than New York City. There are so many taxis there. But Lima is split into 5 missions. So you have the West Mission, which they're lucky and they have the beach. And then you have like the Central Mission, and they have like all the historic parts. And I think the temple is either in the Central Mission or the East Mission. So there's a kind of the like higher end parts of town, I guess you could say. They're a little bit richer. And then the South Mission has a little bit more of like, not really jungle, but they have like green, a lot of green. And then the North Mission is actually like the ghetto of Lima. So it's just like the really dusty, dirty, rundown part of Lima. So it's really amazing, and it's super populated, like amazingly populated. But it's just city. It's a lot of dirt, just so much dirt and dust. But it's really nice because in Lima North there's just people walking around all the time, 24/7, like 24/7 traffic, 24/7 people, and so you can just always find people to contact and to talk to. So they have a few districts of Lima there, but it's actually pretty small, geographically speaking, pretty small mission, but it's very populated with missionaries. So it almost has like more missionaries than any other of the missions. I don't know if it has the most, but it's pretty populated as far as missionaries go. So you get really like small areas to work with, and so you are really close with your zone. We're really close with the mission because it's just so small. So we do quite a few missionary get-togethers and things like that because it's just like from one end to the other is like an hour drive. So it's not a very big mission anymore. But it used to be. It used to be really big. I actually really didn't move around very much. So, well, I guess, I don't know, it depends on how you look at it. So my first area, I served in Begonia's ward, which was in the Canto Grande stake. And that stake actually has 2 zones in it. And so I served over there for about 6 months. And we actually moved around a lot. It was actually a really big area. And so I had one area, and then we brought elders in. So we moved over to a different section of that area. So I actually lived in 2 different houses in that same ward, just because we expanded it a little bit and gave the elders our house. So, so we lived in 2 different houses there, and then I got transferred over to Santa Isabel, which was in the Santa Isabel stake. So I was there for 3 transfers, so like 4.5 months, and then I got moved over to Independencia. I was in the Jose Galvez ward, and that was a little bit closer to, like, we had a mall. It was right by the mall. We only had one mall in our mission, so that was kind of like shopping center, and it was really close to the mission office too, so it was a little bit more in the central part of the mission. And then I actually got to do something really fun. I got to open the family history program in our mission. So for the first transfer that I did that, I stayed in the same place in Independencia, but we worked with 3 different stakes, which was like 6 zones or something like that. So we would just go all over the place. So we were located in Independencia, but we would go like all over, just to all the different stakes to help all the missionaries. And then I actually got transferred back to the Canto Grande stake in the Canto Grande ward, and I did family history there for 3 of the stakes over there. So I kind of had a lot of areas, I guess, in a sense, because I was like in charge of a lot of different areas, but I didn't really move around very much as far as like living in different places, I guess. So towards the end of my mission president asked me if I would be willing to open a family history program. My mission actually did a lot of changing while I was there. When I first got there, we were a really high baptizing mission. Like, people were just really accepting there, and just really open. And so we were baptizing a ton as a mission. But we saw this huge problem with retention. You know, we're having a lot of converts who would get baptized and then they would just fall away or get lost in the process. And we were just having a huge problem. And we actually had Elder Wydell came and just really helped us instigate a program of retention. You know, we really started focusing on our recent converts and our new members, and we really wanted them to be converts and not just baptisms. And so our mission really started shifting focus a little bit. We really focused really hard on our lessons. You know, we had a lot more requirements for people that were going to be baptized. You know, they had to go to church 3 weeks in a row, and they had to be reading the Book of Mormon, and we really wanted them to be converted and not just, you know, have this desire to be baptized, but to understand, you know, why they were getting baptized and to have connections and friends. And so we had this retention program that we were doing, and so part of that retention program was that we wanted our recent converts to have a temple experience, because we have the Lima Temple, which was about an hour outside of our mission, and we really wanted these converts to have the opportunity to go to the temple. And one of the easiest ways for them to go to the temple is for them to do their family history. And so a couple of the other missions in Lima had kind of started programs similar with family history, and a couple of them had sister missionaries that were focused entirely on family history. And so our mission president called me and one other sister to just do family history. And so it was actually really like trippy at first. Like, you go from having to have so many lessons a week and really pushing on like all of the lessons, you know, first lesson, second lesson, restoration, and then you go from doing all that, and then he actually made a family history lesson for us on the redemption of the dead, and it was totally different than anything we'd ever learned, and so we had to like master this lesson, and that was like all we taught. So we mastered it pretty quick because it was literally the only lesson that we taught. And our mission president really just wanted us to focus just on that. And so we started working in one stake with just the objective of getting these recent converts to come in and do their family history and get to the temple. And for the most part, it was really pretty easy once we got them in to get them names, because most of the people we were teaching and baptizing were, you know, first members of their family, first generation. There really still wasn't very many like second or third generation members. And so we would bring them in, and we would, you know, mostly just put in their parents or grandparents, and usually we could find them a name or two, and it wasn't too difficult. And so then we would help them get their recommend, help them get to the temple, and it was very interesting because a few of the stakes that we worked with just really hadn't ever had a very big family history program, and so it's kind of starting from scratch. You know, our first family history center was just covered in dust, so we literally had to clean the whole thing. And I mean, I had never done any family history. You know, I'd been interested in it. When I was in the MTC, we had Russell M. Nelson. He came and spoke to us, and his wife actually talked to us quite a bit about how important family history was and how we should have the mission leader and the family history consultant be our best friends. And so when I came into the mission, I was like, you know, this greenie with so much energy. And I remember my first ward, I was like, we need a family history consultant. Why don't we have a family history consultant? And the poor bishop was like, sister, you need to calm down. Like, some wards don't even have bishops. Like, one step at a time. And so I kind of had to like back burner that burning family history desire. And but I had mentioned it to my mission president, so he took that into consideration and called me to be a family history consultant. And it was really fun, but really challenging to have to work with. You know, we worked with stake presidents, we worked with our mission president, we worked with the temple presidency, and they really weren't used to like receiving huge groups of converts, and so we really had to work really hard with the leaders and just really blazon a trail for family history in that area. And it was really a very rewarding experience, because, you know, I went from baptizing people to watching them get baptized in the temple. And especially from my last area, I got to see all my converts from my last area go through the temple, and that was just a huge blessing. And you know, it was amazing for all the missionaries, because they also got to see their baptisms go through the temple as well. And it was just a huge retention program, and it did really well. It took a little bit, you know, transfer to really start making headway, but people were really excited about it, and so they're still doing it over in the mission, and it's really exciting. So that was probably the most challenging, most rewarding part of my mission. So it was very interesting. I was the worst at language mistakes. Like, I would just make up words. I don't know, I was one of those people that was like pretty shameless, but that's honestly like how I learned really fast. Well, I wouldn't even say I learned really fast. Like, I knew probably basic Spanish. I took Spanish in high school, but I don't feel like it did me very much good. So I knew a little bit about like verb conjugation. I knew a few words, but I mean, going into like a straight up Spanish speaking country, like barely any English, like if any English, I really didn't know very much at all. So when I got into my mission, it was like, okay, I have a lot to learn, but I was super patient with myself, so I didn't do too bad. But I wouldn't make mistakes all the time, just because I would just talk, even if I didn't know what I was saying. I think there was one time we were teaching a lesson, and I was trying to ask the girl, we were teaching like a young girl, she was probably like 13 or 14, and she was like super awesome. She was like a golden investigator, like she read all of her pamphlets, like she did all of her assignments. She always went to church with her friends. And her parents were super approving of her getting baptized, and so it was working out really well. And we were like we were teaching her the word of wisdom. And I was asking her if she'd ever had alcohol, but I like said it really weird, and I guess it sounded like agua, which is just water. And like, I guess that's what everybody heard. So I was like, okay, when was the last time you had water? And she was like, this morning? And I was like, what? I was like, you drank this morning? And she was like, yeah. I was like, this is the problem. And my companion's like, what do you do? Like, why are you asking her when's the last time she had water? Like, what? And like, we had our district leader and his companion there, and they were like, what is Sister Crow talking about? Like, why is she asking her the last time she had water? This has nothing to do with the word of wisdom. And I was like, you were drinking? Like, you're not allowed to drink. Like, you're so young. And she's like, oh my gosh, I thought you said water. I was like, oh, that's so terrible. Like, I meant to say alcohol. When's the last time you had alcohol? She's like, oh, never. I've never had alcohol. And my companion looked at me like I was just the craziest person ever. So I always had little mistakes like that where I would like say a word wrong, and it would just completely change the situation. So those were fun. Those were probably the funniest parts of my mission. I actually had one area where they used to make fun of me because I would just make up words. Like, if I didn't know what something was, a lot of times I would just guess, which like 80% of the time is right, but like 20% of the time is not right. And so 20% of the time it's really funny. And I ended up just making up words. And so we would just like joke about my made up words. So when I was in Peru, they actually lost our passports for me and a couple of the other people that came to the MTC at the same time as me. So there was like 7 of us that they lost our passports. And there was actually like this big cycle through our mission where like a bunch of people that were having problems with their visas, and so they were having to leave the country for a day and come back. And so like a bunch of them were going to like Ecuador or Chile, and they were just like having to fly out there, like cross the border, fill out some papers, and come back basically to like renew their visa or whatever. And so me and a couple of the other elders from my group ended up having to go to the embassy and like get our passports redone because like they lost our passports. And so we had to request new passports, and then we actually ended up having to go to Ecuador for a day. And so we like flew out to like the border, like just right close to the border, and then we like drove across the border and like filled out these papers, and then we like drove back. And so we were in Tumbes for a day, which is just a city that's really close to the border of Ecuador. And like it was really last minute. Like they didn't really tell us like what was going on. They were just like, hey, you need to go on this, this airplane. And it was really weird because I was the only, like I said, I was the only sister missionary from my group that was a North American. So I was the only one that had to go. So it was like me and all of these others. And so we were like standing in the airport, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. Like, I don't know who to check in with because I don't have a companion. And so it was just super awkward, like the whole day, because it was just me and a bunch of elders. And I was like, is this allowed? Like, am I allowed to be here? And so we went, and we spent like a couple hours in Tumbes. And Tumbes was way different than Lima. Like they had a bunch of, like they had like a river right there. So there were so many mosquitoes. And like, I didn't even think about it. But like I'm in a skirt and there's all these mosquitoes, and I'm like really bad with mosquitoes as is. And so I got covered in these mosquito bites just in like a few hours we were there. So my legs were covered in mosquito bites. And when I got back and we were like teaching stuff, people thought I had chicken pox because my legs were just covered in mosquito bites. And it was terrible. And they looked so bad. And like all the members were like, are you okay? Oh my gosh, like, do you have a disease? I'm like, I'm fine. I just covered in mosquito bites because it was like so many mosquito bites. And like covered like my whole legs. And so I had like a miserable couple of really itchy weeks. And so, but it was fun. We got to go to Ecuador and see Tumbes, and that was fun. When I got into family history, I had a convert that we worked with. His name was Miguel, and he was probably like, oh, I'm gonna overestimate and say like 45, 50. He was like an older guy, but he was so full of energy. Like, you would not guess that he was just, like, he had more energy than the missionaries. And he was just an amazing convert. Just really strong, and he really involved in the missionary work. And so how I met him, he actually had worked with one of my companions, had served in his area before, so he knew one of my companions, and that's how I ended up meeting him. And so my companion told him about me because I was going to do family history in his state. And so he came to our family history center one day, and we started helping him with his family history because he was just, so excited to do his family history. He was the only member in his family, but he's super into missionary work, and he was always going out with the missionaries and always going, like, we would go to the center of Lima for like P days, and he would go with us, and he would go on the tours with us, and he's just so full of energy, and he would like contact people for us, and it was just, he was amazing. And so he came in to do his family history, and he really wanted to do family history on his mom's side, but he had like a huge problem because his grandma had his mom, but she like didn't know anything about the guy, like nothing at all, like not even a name. And so like we had like zero to go on as far as finding that branch of his family tree. And so he was a little disappointed about that, but we actually ended up finding like a lot of records in the family history and family search for his dad's side. And so we just found all these names. We ended up finding like 100 names for him, like a ton of names. And he was super about going to the temple, so he would go to the temple all the time. And whenever we would take like converts, and he would just pass out his cards, like all of his family cards to just all the converts that were there, and just like, do some names for me. And so he just ended up doing all this family history work. And he was just a huge inspiration to all the other converts that we worked with, and he was really amazing to get to know. And it was actually really funny because he was a clown for like his job, and like clowns are really big in Peru. Like if you're having a baby shower, if you're having a birthday party, if you're having a wedding, like whatever party you're having, like you have a clown. Like, so there's a lot of people that are clowns, and so it's just really funny. And so he would just like he was just really charismatic and just really amazing. And he actually, right before I left, our ward had a talent show, and so he like dressed us up as clowns, like me and my companion, and then two of the elders that were serving there, and we like did this little skit as clowns, and we like had all this paint on our face, and it was really funny. And then like everybody wanted to take pictures of us because we were dressed as clowns. But he was just really amazing and really strong, and he has just an amazing story of how he came to know the gospel, because the missionaries were teaching him, and he just like literally wanted nothing to do with it, like was just entertaining them. Like he really just didn't want anything to do with the gospel, and was like super contentious with them. And he actually ended up having this dream where he's in like on the street that he didn't recognize, with these trees he didn't recognize, and he like grabbed one of the leaves, and he like walked into this big building that he didn't recognize, and he saw his mom there, and his mom had already passed away. And so he saw his mom like dressed in white, and all of these other family members of his that had passed away. And then his like brothers and sisters were there, and they were like being all like rowdy, and he like had some family issues, so he was like, I don't want to be around. He told his mom, like, I don't want to be around them, like they shouldn't be here, they're being rambunctious or whatever. And his mom's just like, what's that book you have in your hand? And like this was all in his dream. And so he like looked in his hand, he had this like blue book, and he's like, oh, I don't know. She's like, oh, you should read that book. He's like, yeah, whatever. And so he like left because he didn't want to be there with his siblings. And then he like got lost, and he came back, and he's like looking for his mom. And his mom, I think he said his mom like said something to him like, you should read that book or something. And he was kind of really impressed with this dream. And when he saw a picture of the Salt Lake Temple, he told the missionaries, like, that was the building that I saw in my dream. Like, those are the trees I saw in my dream. And, when he saw the Book of Mormon for the first time, like, he's like, that was the book I saw in my dream. And he just had this really amazing dream. And it was just really, really fun to hear his story. And it was really cool because we got to do some of his family history for him. And he actually let me do a lot of his, of the girl names in his family. And when I was leaving from my mission, I asked him, like, okay, I'm going to go to the temple pretty frequently, because even there, it's hard for them to find time to go to the temple. And I was like, if you want me to do, like, the endowments and the initiatories for your family name, I was like, I would be willing to do that. And so he sent me with all these names. When I came home, I would take them to the temple, and, like, the old ladies would try to pronounce these, like, super hard names, because, like, the last names were, like, Ginchaustigi, and they were like, what was that again? Yeah, and so I really got to take that experience home with me, and he was just amazing. So that's Miguel, and he's awesome. He's one of the best converts I met, and I could probably talk about him all day because he's just amazing. But so I did try guinea pig. That's kind of the common Peruvian crazy food, I guess. So I did try that. I didn't really get to try very many. Like, I didn't try tokush. I never had to try sori, which is worms. I never ate any of that. I know, like, in the jungle missions, they get a little bit more of the crazy foods, but I did try guinea pig. That was probably the craziest thing. Like, their chicken noodle soup has, like, chicken feet and stuff in it, so I tried that. That was fun. It's actually really good, really tasty. Yeah, I did eat a lot of different things. The cuisine there is amazing. So I gained like 40 pounds on my mission. That is not an exaggeration. I really gained so much weight because I ate so much food, but it was so worth it. Whenever I was like, man, maybe I need to cut back, I'm like, please, when am I ever going to eat this? Like, and so I would just enjoy it. But yeah, the food there was really good. But we really didn't get too much crazy. We weren't allowed to have ceviche, so I only had that my last day with permission from my mission president. But yeah, we really didn't have too much crazy stuff, so I didn't really get to try anything too crazy. I really actually love ceviche, but I didn't get to eat that. So that was actually really disappointing because I like learned how to make it before my mission. I was so excited. I was like, man, I'm gonna eat ceviche all the time. This is gonna be great. And then I get into my mission, they're like, okay, you can't have any ceviche. I'm like, fine, like no fish, fine, whatever. So ceviche is really good. I really like ceviche. They have something called causa, which is like a potato casserole kind of thing. It's like a layer of potatoes, and then it has like tuna and vegetables in it. And they put like that yellow pepper from Peru. They have like a special yellow pepper that they only grow in Peru, and they put that in there, and it's really good. That's really good. And then let's see what else. They have pollo a la brasa, which is like really, really, really good rotisserie chicken. So that's a favorite. They actually have pollo a la brasa like day. They have like a day where everybody just eats pollo a la brasa. So you can just pay out on that. Like, everybody gets that for lunch. So like the members will buy that for you. I just snacked a lot. I like loved, they have like a lot of cookies. Like, kind of like cracker cookies, I guess. Like, kind of like dry cookies, and they're just amazing. So I just eat those all the time. Like, when I was in the MTC, I probably spent like 30 soles, which is like $10, but like that's a lot to spend on cookies. I would spend that on cookies like every week. So whenever we were studying, I'd just be like eating cookies all the time. So, but yeah, everything was good there. There's only a few things I didn't like, so. Peruvian people are very open, like they're very loving, so that was a huge difference. I mean, just the Hispanic culture in general is pretty loving and open. So it was really cool to get to, they're just super accepting, and they just love people who come to their country and want to learn their language and want to help them. There's kind of a lot of respect for missionaries there, and so it was really nice. These people really respected what we did, even if they didn't necessarily want to hear our message or anything, they, understood we were missionaries, and they respected that. And so that was really probably one of the coolest things. I was talking to my husband the other day, like, if we went to Peru now, we would be like in danger because we'd just be tourists. But like, as missionaries, when you're wearing your plaque, like, it's different. Like, they don't really mess with you, I guess. But Peruvians are very open and loving, just like most Hispanic cultures. So I think family history was probably one of the greatest blessings of my mission. I definitely had some amazing experiences with converts. I definitely had some awesome experiences teaching people and watching them get baptized. One of my favorite baptisms, actually, we had a couple that we had to get married, and it's actually really, really hard to marry people in Peru. Just like the file keeping system there and everything, and like a lot of them are from other parts, and they have to like go get send for their birth certificates, and it's just a headache and a half to marry people there. And so we had this couple that we wanted to get married, and the wife was actually already a member from like way, way, way before. She got baptized when she was like 14, but she'd been inactive for a really long time, and her husband, well, I guess her partner, they weren't technically married, but was not a member, and his brother was a member. And so that's how we ended up finding him. He went to church with his brother, and we contacted him, and we came over and we started teaching him, and he was super open. He listened to a lot of missionaries before, but he was just really impressed with us, I guess. I don't know. It was the right time, and so we started teaching him, and he basically was like, okay, what do I have to do to get baptized? And we were like, you're amazing. This is the best lesson ever. We're like, well, you have to get married because, like, you're breaking the law of chastity. That's kind of a problem. And he's like, okay. And he like turns to his wife and he's like, do you want to get married? And she's like, yes, I do. And so they were amazing because they really wanted everything that we were offering to them. But it was very hilarious because they ran into every problem possible trying to get there. And so we just kept constantly jumping these hurdles with them. But when they got baptized, it was just amazing. It was actually really funny. The day they got married was like miserable for them. So she was pregnant, and like she was wearing heels, and she was like dolled up in makeup, and she was miserable, and he was miserable because he had to go to work right after they got married. And so it was just this huge like headache. But the next day they went and he got baptized, and he was just so happy. Like they were both just amazingly happy, and it was like kind of funny to see the comparison because they had a great wedding, but they were just like so stressed out. And then like when it came to the day of their baptism, they were like, this is amazing, we're so happy. And so that was really cool. Probably one of my favorite baptisms, just because it was a family, and we got to marry them. And then family history was just an amazing experience because it was so involved with the temple. It was just really cool, not only to take my converts, but to take other people's converts and other missionaries. It really, I think the funnest part was we would get these missionaries and they would bring us their converts, and we got to see like how well these missionaries had taught their converts and how much they loved their missionaries. And so it really built our respect and our love for the other missionaries in our mission because we got to like see the work that they had done through their converts, and the converts would just be so excited to go to the temple. And a lot of times, when we would explain to them, like, you can offer those same blessings to your ancestors, to your mom, to your dad, to your grandpa, to your grandma, who didn't get to hear the missionaries. You can go to the temple and you can offer them that opportunity. They were just blown away, so excited. Like, we can give the same experience to them. They had just been baptized and they were just so excited. And so it was fun to get to take them to the temple and to watch them get baptized. That was probably the spiritual highlight, but that was several moments of the last couple months. It was just amazing. So not really. It doesn't ever rain really in Lima. I think if it rained, that would be a disaster. In Lima, it's very dusty, and a lot of people live up in the hills, so they just like build their houses into the hill. And so if it rained, there would be like huge landslides and things. But it really doesn't rain very much in Lima. It's very humid because it's a coastal city, but it doesn't ever rain. So it maybe sprinkled like once in my mission. But they do get earthquakes in Lima. So luckily I never really felt like an extreme earthquake. Like, we usually just get little ones. There was a few that were like, whoa, okay, that was an earthquake. And actually, for a while in my mission, we were kind of anticipating a big earthquake, and so we were like getting prepared. but we never had anything super crazy happen, so I was pretty lucky, pretty safe. So I would say my mission taught me a lot of patience with myself and with other people. Learning a language took a lot of patience. I learned a lot about myself on my mission, and that took a lot of patience. I think it also helped me learn how to be independent spiritually. It was definitely like the first time I'd been really far away from my family and my friends. It really helped me learn how to be spiritually strong on my own. And that was really important now, especially that I'm married and living away from home. It's nice to have that foundation. It taught me, I don't know, I think missions teach you so much, and it's always what you need right in the moment, but yeah, I think it really helped me learn how to trust in my Heavenly Father and in my Savior, and just those moments that it felt like, you get into your mission, and I'm sure plenty of missionaries experience, similar experiences where you have a problem, or you have a question, or you have a struggle, and you're so used to having, your mom or your dad or your best friend or, whoever, people that can relate, even just like, when I struggle with things at home, when I miss my family, it's so hard because there's nobody around you that 100% understands what you're going through, especially in my mission. It wasn't very common to have a North American companion, so I was always with a Hispanic companion, which was amazing. It taught me a lot about the language, taught me a lot about, the culture, and that was really a good opportunity and experience. But you get into these moments where it's like your companion really doesn't understand what's going on at home, the culture is just different, and so it's similar, your companions go through the same experience where they can't relate to their companion, they can't relate to anybody else, they don't have anybody to confide in, and it's kind of in those moments where you really turn to the Savior and realize it doesn't matter where I am or what country I'm in, like my Heavenly Father and my Savior know what I'm going through, and so you just learn to turn to them, and I think that's a super important lesson that you learn on a mission, that I hope every missionary learns, and I'm pretty sure they do, because we all go through times where it's just crazy, or you just don't have anybody that understands, or you just need somebody there that gets it 100%, and that your Savior is the only one. So I learned Spanish. Random skills. I learned how to whistle on my mission. Actually, I did not know how to whistle before my mission. I would just practice while we were walking in the streets. So I picked up whistling on my mission. I don't know if I really learned any random skills. I'm a really big baker, and so I did have some fun trying to bake in Peru. That was a little interesting, because they really don't do the same kind of baking. Like they don't make cookies really in Peru, like the kind of like cookies you would think, like chocolate chip cookies, like that doesn't exist in Peru. And so I remember one time we tried to teach the Relief Society how to bake cookies, and it was a disaster. It was terrible. It was like an embarrassment to my baking career, because they just it's really hard to get your hands on like baking powder and baking soda and things like that. And so I told the Relief Society president, okay, this is what we need. I got a really simple recipe, and then she got confused and got everything for a different recipe. And then we got there, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna try and make this work. And it was just terrible, and the cookies came out just disgusting, but they loved them. The Peruvian people were like, these are amazing, these are so good, I'm gonna make these at home. And I was like, these are embarrassing, I am embarrassed, this is terrible. So I guess I got better at cooking because I had such extreme conditions. So I guess I picked up a little bit of cooking. I learned how to cook a few Peruvian dishes, so that was fun. I kind of seriously overpacked. Well, I brought my own pharmacy with me. It was actually really funny. I was super worried that I was gonna get sick or something. I just wanted to have everything So before my mission, I like read all these things, I read all these books, like what are some common medicines that you're gonna need, and I actually like did not get very sick in my mission, but everybody else did. So like a lot of my companions ended up using like a lot of the medicine I had brought from home. And I think there was only one time I got sick. I got like a really bad cough and it like turned into pneumonia. And so my mission president's wife was the one who would help us with like health concerns. I think that's how it is in most missions. And so I was like talking to her on the phone and I was like, Sister Kissin, like I have this really bad cough. And she's like, well, do you have this medicine? And I was like, yeah, I have that. You know, and then like I would take that and I'd be like, okay, it's not working. She's like, okay, well, try this medicine. Do you have that one? I was like, yeah, I have that one. And so like with like 3 different medicines. And so she joked about me being like a walking medicine cabinet or like a walking pharmacy because I just had brought all these medicines with me. So that was good. I would recommend bringing medicine to another country, like just kind of over-the-counter stuff that is a little bit harder to find. But you can find most like basic stuff in like a pharmacy there. I guess probably like for sister missionaries, always bring more skirts than you think you're gonna need. Always bring skirts in bigger sizes. I gained a lot of weight on my mission and ended up having to like switch a lot of skirts with other sister missionaries and like do a little finagling. So that was always fun, but always bring, like, I remember when I was shopping for missionary clothes, like, I was like, oh, this is too big, because I was really skinny for my mission, and I, like, gained a bunch of weight in my mission, and so then, like, none of my clothes fit. So, depending on where you're going, I would say anticipate for that. But I left most of my stuff in my mission, so, like, when I was getting ready to go, I just, like, gave everything away. So if you're planning on doing that, I guess just don't bring anything you're super attached to and just give it all away. But yeah, I would just say bring a lot of medicine. I don't know, it depends on where you're going. If you're going to Lima North, it's super dry, but it does get really cold in the winter, like a really humid cold. So I would say bring a big jacket and tights and maybe boots, especially if you're tall, because it's really hard to find clothes in Peru because Peruvian people are pretty short, so it's hard to find like shoes and skirts. Yeah. Well, congratulations. Lima North is an amazing mission. People there are amazing and they will definitely receive you with a lot of love, and I know that you will have an amazing experience there. I know that you will come to love the people there as much as I do. I think serving a mission is an amazing experience, probably one of the best experiences I've had in my life, and I am personally very grateful that I had the opportunity to serve a mission, especially considering that I didn't think it was going to be an opportunity I was going to have, and I'm constantly finding applications for the things I learned on my mission, and I really think that anybody who feels like they should serve a mission will be greatly benefited from serving. I think that it's not very often in our lives that we have the opportunity to give all of ourselves to a cause. I know that coming home from a mission, one of the most frustrating things is not being able to give as much as you used to have all these other distractions like work and school, and you get married and then you have people and family that you have to give time to, and you really just don't have the opportunity to serve 100% like you do when you're a missionary. And so I would just encourage you to make the best of every moment and talk to as many people as you can. The days go by so fast. There's moments when it feels like it's going to go on forever, and there's moments that you wish it would just end. But honestly, a mission is an amazing opportunity, and I hope you take advantage of every day. I hope you wake up every day and think that it's like your last, and you talk to as many people as you can, because one day you will wake up and it will be your last, and you'll be headed home, and it will be just memories that you hold on to forever and lessons that you learned, and it will be 100% worth it. So I know that a mission is an amazing opportunity, and I'm so happy for all the people that are serving right now, and so grateful for all of our missionaries.